Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As you can see, I am back in the army in Miluim, and I wanted to share with you a very short Dvar Torah for this Shabbat. This Shabbat, Parashat Korach, we celebrate Jewish politics. Parashat Korach famously tells us the story of one of the biggest rebellions against Jewish leadership in Jewish history. Moshe Rabbeinu, after leading the Jewish people out of Egypt, is challenged by Korach, a fellow Levi, who decides that he wants to propose a leadership contest. And without going into the whole story, the whole parsha basically, or the vast majority of this parsha, deals with both the actual contest itself and the fallout that comes from that. This week, generally, this period, we hear a lot about politics. Politics both in Israel, politics in Europe, the elections, lots of different countries in Europe, England, France, politics in America. We hear all about the American presidential election, and we're constantly bombarded with updates about political competitions, political races, politicians vying for leadership roles. And I want to share with you a very short idea that I actually heard yesterday at a wedding from Rabbi Gershon Albert in the name of Rabbi Norman Lamb from YU. And he says there's a fascinating Mishnah mentions in Pirkei Avot the parasha of Korach, the story of Korach. It says, Ezohi machloket shehi l'shem shamayim. What kind of argument, what kind of dispute is the right kind of dispute? The answer is, Zom machloket Hillel v'Shamai. This is the kind of rabbinic argument that we have throughout the Talmudic literature, throughout the Mishnaic rabbinic literature, of two rabbis disagreeing. One says it's kosher, the other one says it's not kosher. Each one has their reasons, and so on and so forth. That is a machloket she'atida litkayem. That is a kind of disagreement that has a substance to it, that has a ideological basis for each side, that really there is a truth in many ways. In each side, as we know, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim, each side has a really good point, a really good truth that needs to be fleshed out, and the argument is, well, which one actually gains the upper hand? Which one will we go with in the end? But what is the example of a bad machloket? Ezoi machloket she'ina l'shem shamayim. Zo machloket Korach ve'adato. This is a machloket of Korach and his gang and his political party. Why? Well, for two reasons. First of all, because it is a much more of a personal argument. It wasn't as much, I have an ideal that I want to bring to the fore, but rather I personally, my ego, says Korach, is pushing me to get to a place of leadership while I'm fighting you personally to try and oust you. And secondly, because indeed Korach didn't actually have a strong point. It was mostly done for the wrong reasons and not for the right reasons, as we mentioned, for ego and for lust of power and all of the different reasons that people sometimes go to great extremes to push themselves into leadership positions. But, says Rav Norman Lamb, if we actually look at the Mishnah, we will see a very important secret of how to have disputes in relationships as well. How to have positive disputes, how to be able to actually argue about things of substance and not argue ad hominem about about who is right, rather what is right. Rav Norman Lamb says, notice that Hillel and Shammai, the machloket Hillel and Shammai, that is the example for a good machloket, is between two individuals. Each one stands opposite the other and recognizes the value of the other. On the other hand, machloket Korach ve'adato, Korach is not Korach ve'Moshe. It's Korach ve'adato. It's Korach and his political party. What about the opposition? Where is the other side? Non-existent. The political party, in many ways, is doing machloket by itself. It doesn't recognize the other side to combat. Rather, it is able to have a dispute all on its own. It is fighting imaginary foes. It is fighting the whole world. It is trying to prove itself right and completely not listening to any other side of the story. Moshe is not even mentioned. That is what makes it a machloket she'ina l'shem shamayim, a machloket that is not one that will survive, that will actually bring forth fruits. So I think what we can take from this is a very interesting point when we interact with other people, do we see the other person as a viable candidate for the truth? Do we say, hey, maybe they know something that I don't know? Maybe they have a point. Maybe there's something that I should try and see from their perspective. Maybe I would learn from them. Even though I might disagree with them, maybe there is a value to their opinion. Or is it like Parashat Korach v'adato? I'm putting out ads saying we're the best, we're the best, we're the best. And what about the other side? We don't even recognize them. We don't even need them. All we do is destroy and destroy and destroy. Liables, lies, and negativity. And we don't actually stop to think, hey, maybe there is a truth on the other side that I can gain from as well. So that's my bracha to us this week, Be'ezrat Hashem, that we learn constantly to look to the other side, to try and understand. And since I am standing here on Miluim and I'm surrounded by the lovely villages at the outskirts of Ramallah, I want to actually put that into effect. One of the things that I think is incredibly important to learn from our Arab neighbors is their ability to stick to davening times, to prayer hours. It's very impressive constantly hearing the villagers at even the dead of night waking up to pray, even though we don't necessarily agree with their theological statements. It's still impressive to recognize the dedication. Islam means dedication too, subservience too, and there's something to be learned from that, something that we can maybe try and engage in our own lives. That doesn't mean that we recognize every single thing that they say as fact, or that we take every single argument that they make as positive or truth. We still fight. I'm still on uniform. We're still willing to fight for what we believe in, to fight for our own rights and opinions and beliefs. But nonetheless, we can still recognize the opponent and see the good and the positives that we can learn from them as well. Shabbat Shalom.